I'm Anil Kumar, and here is the test question for my students. It is on sinusoidal functions characteristics. The question here is, state the characteristics of following function for one cycle. Remember, just one cycle. So the functions, we are working with two functions, y equals to 0.75 sine of 0.5x and y equals to minus 2 cos 3x plus 1. And the characteristics which you need to figure out are domain, range, amplitude, axis of equation, time period, and x-intercepts. So you can pause the video, write down these characteristics for both the functions. Right? So there are two functions here. Okay. And then check with my solution. Okay. So let's begin. So the first one is we need to write domain, not of the whole function, just one cycle. Range for one cycle. Amplitude, axis, time period, and x-intercepts. How are you going to do it? Okay. Now, to get the domain, what is important for us to find? To get the domain, it is important to find the time period. Do you understand? So these things are not in proper order, so that may sometimes create confusion. How do you find time period? Time period of this function can be found from the value of k, right? So 0.5 will help us to find time period. So time period, let me write here, time period t equals to, if you are working in degrees, so what we will do is we will work in degrees for one side and in radians for the other side. Okay, so let's do like that. So we'll do degrees here and radians this side. Now I know some of the students are not using radians, and that is the reason. Okay, so degrees on one side and radians on the other side. So time period, when it comes to degrees, will be, normally it is 360 degrees, right? Divided by this k value, which is 0.5. 0.5, you know, is half. You can divide by 0.5. That gives you 720 degrees. Do you see that? Once we know that, it is 720 degrees. So one full cycle takes 720, from 0 to 720. So the domain here is that x belongs to real numbers, right? Where x is from 0 degrees to 720 degrees, correct? Now how about the range? Now if it is a sine function, amplitude here is 0.75. So probably we should write the amplitude first. So I'm writing amplitude first, which is 0.75. Okay, we'll come to range later. Axis, since it is not translated up or down, the axis is y equals to 0, right? So y equals to 0 is the axis. Time period, I should write 720 degrees now, right? So let's get back to range now. To find range, it is what is the maximum value and what is the minimum value. So maximum and minimum values you can always find from the difference between the amplitude and, you know, these two things combined together. So from 0, if you go up, that is your maximum value. If you come down by this much, it becomes minimum value. So we could write range as y belongs to real numbers, where y is greater than equals to and less than equals to what? That is the amplitude, 0.75, and negative 0.75, right? So that becomes the range for the function. Now this is a very difficult question, how to find x-intercepts for a given function knowing the time period. Now since you know, sine functions are kind of like what? Sine functions are kind of like this. Do you see that? Now if I'm finding the x-intercepts, we know we have 3 x-intercepts in one cycle, starting with 0, end of the cycle, and center of the cycle. Do you get the point? So the x-intercepts for us are 0 degrees. The end of the cycle is at 720 degrees, and midway is half of this, which is 360 degrees. So that is the way for easily getting all these answers. I hope you understand and appreciate it. The second one here is cosine function, right? So let's figure it out, how to do this one. So first is time period. We are working in radians now. Okay, so the time period will be, radians is 2 pi. 2 pi divided by 3. So 2 pi by 3 is your time period. So we'll write time period t equals to 2 pi by 3. Fine. Now, once we know the time period, we know the domain. So we say, well, domain here is x belongs to real numbers, so that x is from 0 to 2 pi by 3, because one full cycle takes that much of time, right? So x is less than equals to 2 pi by 3. Now it's important to note here that this particular function has been translated 1 unit up, right? So that changes the range. So when it comes to range, you have to think a bit more than what we did here. Okay. So we'll come to range here later. Let's first figure out the amplitude. We say amplitude is what? So amplitude for us is this number. Never write down negative, right? Amplitude is always positive. It is positive 2. Axis. So axis for us is y equals to this line 1, correct? So that is the axis. Now we need to figure out what range is. Now range will be from axis you have to go 2 up and 2 down. Do you see that? So basically what you find here is that maximum will be how much? Maximum will be 1. You have to go 2 up. It may be minus 2 here. It means that it starts from the negative. Let me sketch this function here. It will start from here. It will be a cosine function like this. Do you get the point? Where plus 1 shows that the axis, the center is at plus 1. Do you see that? And you're going 2 down and 2 up, right? So this is at 1, and then you do plus 2 to go up, so you get 3, right? Minus 2 to go down, so you come to what? You get to minus 1, correct? So that is how you should do. Maximum will be add this up, right? So when you add this up, you get 3. And the minimum will be 1 minus 2, which is minus 1. Now you know your range, right? So range for us is, we'll say range y is equals to, I'm writing in a different nomenclature now. So we are using the square brackets. So this includes the numbers from minimum value to the maximum value. So that becomes your range. You get the idea, right? So these are different ways of writing the same thing. Now let's figure out the x-intercepts. Now the x-intercepts are not so easy to find in this particular case. For that, you have to really solve for y equals to 0. You get the point? So to solve for y equals to 0, we'll rearrange and solve the equation. So I complicated this, so let this be an additional question for you. So see how to do it. For x-intercept y should be 0, so I'll rearrange and solve this equation. So we have the equation 0 equals to minus 2 cos of 3x plus 1. So we'll rearrange. So we say 2 cos 3x equals to 1, or cos 3x equals to 1 over 2, right? So half. Now when is cos 3x half? You can use special triangle or your calculator, right? Now remember, we are doing it in radians, correct? Now special triangles, let me just find some space here. So I'm just using this space. It seems to be okay and free for us to use. We need half. So the angle which are of interest is special triangle, I hope you remember, pi by 3. So pi by 3 gives us half. So that is one value, correct? We have 2 pi by 3 as our range, right? So what we are expecting here is, we are expecting 2 solutions. Do you get the idea? So when is cos positive? Cos is positive in 2 quadrants. In quadrant 1 and in quadrant 4. So we get pi by 3 here. So this is pi by 3, and this one is 5 pi by 3, correct? So that these are the 2 solutions. So for both we'll find x. So one of the solution is that 3x is equals to pi by 3, or we get, this implies that x is equals to pi by 9, right? And the second solution for this is that 3x equals to 5 pi by 3, and x is equals to 5 pi by 9. So we get 2 x-intercepts, and these are at pi by 9 and 5 pi by 9, right? So the x-intercepts here for us will be 5 pi by 3 and 5 pi by 9. Okay, sorry, pi by 9, sorry. These are my x-intercepts, 5 pi by 9 and sorry, pi by 9, right? So these are my x-intercepts. I got mixed up. Okay, this one and this one, right? So these are the x-intercepts. So it really became quite difficult. I never intended to do that. But when you translate up and down, then you cannot use that simple strategy to find x-intercepts. You have to really calculate, solve the equation and figure it out as we did just now. I hope that helps. Thank you and all the best.